Hello and welcome to our Booksplosion Book of the Month live show. This month we read To Best the Boys by Mary Weber and we worked with Harper Christian. We are going to be taking questions over on Twitter using the hashtag BestSplosion, so you can ask us questions over there. And we will also try to monitor the chat. Monitor, I just said monitor the chat as well to take your questions from that. I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine. I'm Kat.
And we're Booksplosion. Is there anything else that I needed to say? I can't remember.
Well, we can do a little synopsis of the book before we get into spoilers. Did you say we're taking questions on Twitter? Yes, you did. So we're good.
Yeah, you did really. That was the whole spiel. You nailed it.
Thank you.
Nice. I really messed it up last time.
So does somebody want to explain what this book is all about?
I just did it in my video.
Go for it.
So we follow a girl named Ren, and she wants to be a scientist. But in this world, women are just like pruned, basically growing up to be a wife, to be a homemaker. And while that's, great for people who want to do that, she doesn't. She wants to be a scientist, and she's not allowed. Like, it's just girls aren't allowed to go to college. All the men go off to college and get an education, and she wants an education. And she's specifically passionate about it because her mother is dying from a disease that there is no cure for right now. And she's working really hard with her dad, to find a cure in their basement with just rudimentary materials and stuff. But since there's nothing else they can do, it feels like at least they're doing something to try to save her mom. And she figures that if she can go to college, she can get an education, and then she'll have a better chance of finding a cure. And to go, she's not allowed. There's this Mr. Holm, this wealthy guy who has a scholarship competition every year. And someone want to talk about the scholarship competition?
Sure, I'll take over. So every year, all the young people are allowed to participate in this competition. They enter this labyrinth, and there's a series of tests, and it's very dangerous. So people have died occasionally over the years of doing this. And the winner is awarded a scholarship to this men's college. And our main character, Ren, decides that the invitation doesn't say gentle men, it says gentle persons. So she decides that she can take that as maybe I can enter this competition. And she disguises herself and enters the labyrinth, and
stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens.
It's really quick, really entertaining, great characters, great themes.
Yes.
Yes.
Lots of politics as well.
Yeah.
Interesting conversations about sexism.
Mm-hmm. There's gender roles and also class, because Ren is from the lower class of this town that they live in, and that is a big point of contention, because this disease that her mother is suffering from is affecting only the lower class, and so the upper class doesn't really care about finding a cure, which is another reason why Ren feels it's all on her, because she's the only one who's willing to do the work and try to find the cure. Everyone else is oh, well, it doesn't really affect us, so we'll take care of it when it gets to become a big deal. And she's it is a big deal.
Not to go into spoilers, but are we going into spoilers?
No, not yet.
Let's talk about our non-spoilery thoughts overall.
Okay.
Christine, do you want to kick us off with your non-spoiler thoughts?
So I basically said them. I had so much fun reading this. I blew through it. I was reading it a little by little because I was working on my stuff. But the last 2 days, I actually sat down and read the rest of it and blew through it so quickly. I love these characters. I really loved the love interest, Lute, and I really liked the back and forth between him and Ren. And there's a guy who's courting her who she doesn't like, but I really loved that whole situation and how she dealt with it. And just every character had their own kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like every character was really developed enough for me to like feel like, okay, this is real. Like this guy's been this and this one, and I really liked how everyone interacted. And Selene, her cousin, was so great. Like I love their relationship. It was so cute. Their friendship and her relationship with her dad and her mom. It was just like there was just, and the world has like it's grounded, but there's these bits of magic everywhere that are really fun to play around in.
Yes.
So I really liked it.
Kat, do you want to go?
I mean, everything Christine just said. But also, like, I really love the relationships, especially the family relationships. Like her and her cousin, is it Selene? Is that how you pronounce?
Selene.
Yeah. Okay. Like I loved their friendship, and I loved that they both wanted different things out of life, but they both completely supported each other in like pursuing those different things. I loved her relationship with her parents. I loved the world building and like the sprinklings of magic. Like this book is classified as like a light fantasy because, you know, we have little bits of magic, like sirens are a thing that exists, but they're not like a huge part of the story, and there's ghouls and just like little bits of magic that are just accepted in this world. But for the most part, it just reads a little bit like historical feeling. It's just, I love that like atmosphere of magic. And I also love the politics. Like going into this, I was thinking it was going to be like a lot more about the competition, like more Hunger Games style, where it like takes over most of the book. And it wasn't like that. I don't think this is a spoiler talking about this. But a lot of it is about the politics of this world. So like the competition played a smaller role than I expected. But I loved the politics and like the themes that all the setup like led to. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And once we do get to the competition, this is such a fast read. Like the beginning, getting through the setup, it took me a little longer to get through. But like once we got to the competition, I couldn't put the book down. I flew through like the entire, like from page 100 something, like the whole rest of the book, I just flew through.
I really loved like all the stuff leading up to it because I just found it really like a really fun world to learn about.
Yeah. I was really engaged with the politics and like finding out about the world and
her
like,
village,
the upper and lowers, like the class divide and everything.
Yeah.
Like the whole riot and her walk home. I was just like, when they said ghouls, I was like, whoa. What?
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you think? Sorry.
Oh, you guys said everything that I wanted to say. Like one of my favorite parts literally in this book was just like all the different relationship dynamics because there's so many. Like I love her relationship with her mom and how like desperately she was trying to find a cure. I loved how her and her dad were working so hard together to find the cure. I loved like all those moments of them working together. I loved the relationship with her cousin, which was such an interesting relationship because it was like her mom had come from that rich family and her cousin was like still a part of that rich family, and like that was so interesting. So I love the relationships, and I even liked the romantic relationship, which doesn't happen very often with me. Like I'm usually like, oh, the romance, wasn't a big fan, but like I loved it in this book. I loved the maze. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of the labyrinth. And I love the politics. The politics was so like, it was such an interesting aspect of the story. I was not expecting to get that going into this book. Like you guys said, like you just expected kind of the labyrinth to be a bigger part of the story, but it was more about like politics. And I also loved like how the sexism was incorporated because it wasn't like it didn't feel like she was like really pushing the topic necessarily. It was just kind of like a natural part of the world. So it was kind of easy to like dissect it. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but I don't know. I thought it was like really interesting how she brought that element into the story and stuff. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was fast, it was fun. And yeah, we're now going to be jumping into spoilers.
Yay.
So if you have not read To Best of Boys, you should go read it. So go read it and then come back and watch this recorded live show. And again, we're going to be taking your questions over on Twitter using #BestSplosion. So you can ask us questions there, and we'll also be watching the chat as well. So yes.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is, before I say that, is there going to be more? Is this a standalone?
It's a standalone.
Okay, because this world, I would like to see more in this world. I feel like there's a lot more to explore. But anyway, so did you guys think it was going to be the governor? I thought it was the government doing this to the lowers, like that they disease out there to affect them. That's why it wasn't affecting the uppers. Like no one was getting it. And I was so surprised when they were like, "Oh, Vincent did it." And I was just like, "Oh, it wasn't the government." The whole time at the beginning, I was like, "Why aren't you guys suspicious of the government? They don't like you."
I didn't get that vibe. I mean, the government seemed more like just neglectful, like they didn't care. They were so out of touch.
Yeah, I thought they didn't care because they wanted to delete them.
But they need them. They still rely on them to do like all the jobs that they don't want to do and everything.
Yeah, but maybe they want them to be weaker. So like they're more desperate and like don't have time to rebel against them and all that stuff.
I mean, I see your theory. I just didn't have it myself.
Yeah, I think you're alone in this one. I'm sorry.
No.
But it's a good theory. Like I could totally see that now. That
Oh. I don't know. I liked that it wasn't something like that. Like it was, Vincent messed up and like it was an accident that he kind of like unleashed this disease.
Why? Okay. Also, didn't see Vincent at like coming being like so freaking evil.
Yeah.
I was like,
are you worst.
Serious, dude? At the end when he was like, "I'm willing to forgive you." Did you or did you not just try to murder her?
He's like, let's call it even, You had your fun, I had my fun.
Let's call it good.
Fun was trying to kill people.
Literally.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting though, especially because like she didn't suspect Vincent in the beginning. Like in the beginning, I just thought Vincent was another one of those like out of touch. Like he doesn't really get her perspective at all. And like that was kind of where his I don't know, at times it seemed like he was like gaslighting her when she was like trying to express her feelings, and he's like, "No, you're not feeling that way, you're feeling this way, and I don't want to hear anything else about it."
Just like that.
I thought I didn't realize he was as malicious as he ended up being.
Yeah, and then there was that whole thing with like how Lute kept being like so jealous and irritated whenever Vincent came around. And then Vincent says like, "Oh, I'm marrying her." He doesn't even ask her.
Yeah.
And like,
just like has claimed her.
Yeah, and she's like clearly annoyed. It's like, spit it out.
Yeah, that was my only little bit of frustration with Lute, which I guess can kind of be attributed to just the society that they're raised in. Like he kind of expects it, but just the fact that like he wouldn't ask her, he wouldn't like ask her directly and hear it from her directly. And also like when he saw that like her fear was like being Vincent's wife, he didn't connect that as like her fear. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna have a nice future," and she's like, "No, that's literally the worst future."
Like, it was everyone's worst fear. Why wouldn't mine just be a future? Like what the future I'd like. Yeah. And this maze felt a lot like the visual looked a lot in my brain like the visual in the movie Goblet of Fire. like how they swallowed everyone up in clothes and stuff.
Yeah. I got that same vibe.
Yeah, I was like, I'm in the Goblet of Fire.
There's just no wands.
Yeah. But also, the guy Geraldine, what is his name again? Geraldine.
Jermaine.
I never said his name out loud, so Jermaine, I was expecting to be much eviler than he actually was. He was just like a minion of Vincent. It was kind of to throw us off, I guess, like the way she clocked him.
Was he the one? It's been a while since I read the book. It's been a few weeks. Is he the one that was like planning to kill everybody, basically?
Yeah, it sounded like he had these evil plans to kill everyone, but really it was like they were improvising on it.
Yeah, he like didn't really do anything evil.
I mean, looking at it, like she overheard them saying like, "Oh, if people die, then they die." So it wasn't like necessarily like, "Oh, we're plotting to like murder them." And like when we saw how it played out, it made sense. Except for the part with the berries. Like, you're trying to murder someone when you do that.
Literally. Oh.
Yeah. Also, the part with the thorn. I mean, like that could kill some. Those thorns were scary. When she said that, either you were at worst you vomit for a week, or I mean, at best you vomit for a week, and at worst you die. I was like, holy shit. Like what? Get those off your lawn. What if you accidentally turn into it? Oh my god. So someone just said it was Mulan meets Goblet of Fire. I love it. Also someone said the word nerd said that they also thought it was the government.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm glad you've been validated, Christine.
But what were we talking about?
Let's talk about what was your guys' favorite trial within the labyrinth?
The labyrinth went so quickly. Honestly, I was like more focused. My favorite part was when they took the break and slept and she was lewd.
That would be your favorite part.
Well, I like that they finally talked.
Yeah, it was nice.
They had a nice talk, and then they like paraglided, glide something. What is that called?
Paragliding, right?
Yeah. I think that was probably my favorite part. It's really fun, and also whenever we have like a girl disguises herself as a boy to like enter a competition or do something, one of my favorite aspects of that trope is like the reveal. Yeah. So like immediately following the paragliding was when like it was revealed that Ren and Selene were in the competition, and like I really like that.
Yeah. Oh, can we? Sorry.
Yes, Christine.
Teacher.
Okay, so the only part of this book where I was like, I was having trouble suspending my disbelief that these people who knew them so well didn't recognize them beforehand. And like, I know you said that they kind of did, but I just couldn't picture what they were doing with the oil to make themselves look like boys other than just making their faces look dirty. I mean, maybe because they're in a society that's so used to never seeing women in pants that just like, it wouldn't even enter their mind. But I was like, how is Beryl not recognizing Selene off the bat?
I'm just like imagining them too, like trying to do like the deeper voices. Like,
yeah.
That's not really working. Like,
yeah, I think that's a big factor of just like, it was so unexpected. Like, especially in the, like, not only wearing pants and like with a dirty face and like their hair tied up, but like in the labyrinth, like no one was expecting them to be in there. Although Luke did figure it out fairly early, I feel like.
Luke knew very soon into it, and he just didn't say anything for a while. But I was like, Beryl.
Yeah, I guess it's just
especially like, that part in the beginning where Beryl is like, Miss Lake, and Selena's like, here. Oh, I thought you were saying something else.
I was like, that was so real. Yeah. That was really funny. She's like, I'm gonna ruin this part. But I really loved Beryl, and I thought he was such a fun character. He's just like kind of that person who's a little, I don't know, I don't want to say like he's like a little too in his own bubble to like be there in the moment, and maybe that explains why I didn't notice. Yeah, like he's almost like in his own little world.
I also wondered like what their hats looked like how their hats like helped them be disguised or whatever.
Well, I was picturing like a newsboy hat on Selene, and then I forget what Ren was wearing. I just remember her putting on that bonnet.
Yeah.
The bonnet earlier. Yeah.
That wasn't for this.
I just can't imagine that like helping them like completely like hide their identity.
Her hair. So, but like if you see someone's face, you see someone's
right, exactly.
And like when I dress up as a boy, I don't think anyone's like, is that Christine or is that a boy? So yeah. Anyway, that was fun.
comment here that's interesting. This one's from Olwyn Olson, and they said, I think it was kind of odd when they had to choose doors teams, and they chose the same one as Jermaine while they knew Jermaine was planning things.
I know. I guess they were like trying to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, why are you guys going through with him? I want to get started as soon as possible.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was trying to keep an eye on him, and like they were in the group of everyone who had been warned, because like Lute hadn't been warned because they didn't realize Lute was going to be in the competition until like the last moment. But like Sam and Will, and I think they warned Vincent, which like Vincent was in on it the whole time. So
right.
Yeah. Vincent's such an ass.
We have a question about Vincent on Twitter as well from Pre. They asked, did you guys suspect that the disease was Vincent's doing?
Yeah, so obviously I didn't. Well, okay, when he made a comment in the labyrinth, I thought it just supported my government thing, because I thought he knew about it because his dad worked in the government.
Interesting. I didn't suspect him, but when that was revealed, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Like, we had those clues leading up to it. Like, I can't believe I missed that.
Like, literally his mirage, I didn't know it either, but like I went back and looked at his mirage that he like saw or whatever, and it was a room full of dead people, and they began to come for him.
Yeah.
And like they were diseased. So like,
yeah, that's why I thought that like he was in on the secret that this disease, and he knew that this disease was killing like the girl he's courting.
Right.
He can't tell. Yeah. So
there's also the thing about how like they used to be friends and they used to work in the lab together, and then like he suddenly changed his mind about like what career he wanted to pursue, and he suddenly like stopped working with science in the lab and like just left that like at life completely. And like I was like, oh, I wonder why he did that. And then like later at the end we find out why, and I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
You know what part I also thought was done very well, but also was like really hurt when they were talking about the girls, like all the boys were like doing locker room talk and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, oh, like, I was sitting there like I would have to say something.
Would not be able to remain quiet.
I'm like, how are you just watching this? And I know they had to go. Oh God.
Vincent really reminded me of Draco Malfoy.
Really?
He's not that evil.
But it's just like he kept going to his dad for stuff.
Oh yeah, but Draco would never poison
actually,
people. Like he would like get a bottle of mead and address it to Dumbledore and never actually get it to him.
True.
Yeah, he'd go like in a roundabout way that wouldn't work because he doesn't.
Yeah, it was mostly just like the aspect of like having his dad be in power.
It was literally like poisoned.
Yeah, see, the thing with Draco is all talk, whereas Vincent was like,
I'll walk.
No, yeah, I'll walk.
He was like all terrible, the worst kind of politician. It just got really quiet.
I know. I was looking for a question. By the way, guys, we are taking questions over on Twitter using hashtag Booksplosion, but you can also leave your question in the chat because we're looking at that as well. So.
I really liked how with the family dynamic, how uncomfortable it had been made by Celine's parents, how they didn't allow Ren's father to come over to their house. So whenever they had a party, like he just couldn't come. So the mother never came either, because how dare you like tell me that my husband's not good enough to come to your party? I thought that made for a really interesting and deep rooted, upsetting things happening in their family dynamic.
Yeah, family drama, some riffs in the family line.
Yeah.
I really liked how all those relationships kind of unfolded. Like we first meet Ren and Selene and we know that they're cousins, and then we find out like more about their families, and like Ren is from the lowers and she's like in the lower class because of her dad, but like her cousin's family, like her aunt and uncle are really wealthy, and like she goes to parties at their houses too, and she's like kind of walking that line between the uppers and lowers. Like I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
And I also like that, like despite all of that, it didn't really affect Rin and Celine's relationship necessarily. Like they're still super close. Like she didn't really let like that drama like affect their relationship or anything. I liked.
Yeah, I love that scene where she just shows up in the morning and like gets in bed with her. She's like, "Hey, so what are we doing today?"
Also, the scene when they're in the labyrinth and like they're saying goodbye, and like Selene is says like, I never want to see you in those clothes again, like those dead boy clothes, like burn them.
Yeah, they just had a really fun dynamic, and you could tell that they were just best friends. And
yeah. That was one of my favorite aspects of the book was that relationship, and also the one she had with her father, because of that scene at the end where she's like, "What if I put off college for a while?" And I
love that.
That was so
like,
good.
no, like you have to go for your dreams, and she's
Now
like,
or never. Like you always have to think now. Yeah.
And like she's pulled between both of them, and like both sides of that argument kind of made sense, because like she's like, well, I could just postpone it and like stay with you for a while and like focus on this, and like that made sense. But he was like, no, you go do this. Like it was the little bit of a push that she needed to go and do it. So I loved. It was just such a touching father-daughter moment.
It really was. I also really loved the scene where she's like hugging her mom goodbye, and she's like says something about like good luck in the labyrinth or something. And it like made me cry. It was really nice. She's like, what do you mean? She's like, I'm your mom. Don't belittle me.
I was glad that her mom came to the party at the end as well.
Yeah.
Even though it was like, you should be home resting.
Well, we're gonna cure her. Like we don't end the book with like her being like super solidly cured, but like we're definitely in that direction. Like
that they're in the right, going in the right.
Like we figured it out. Where everything's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have more questions on the Twitters?
We do have one. From the Word Nerd, and they ask, who was your favorite character in the book?
Wow.
We have such a great cast of characters.
Yeah. I feel like
a lot of good characters, a lot of evil characters.
I really liked Lute and Selene.
Mm-hmm.
And Beryl. I just feel like a very strong point of this book is all the characters. And I really loved all of them. Even like the bad ones, I loved how kind of rounded they were in different aspects of their personalities.
It's hard to choose a favorite because they're all so good at what they are.
Right.
Like I loved Ren probably the most because like she's our main character, so like we spend the most time with her and we like really root for her. But especially just in like juxtaposition to some of the other characters, like her and Selene are, I mentioned this earlier, like they're so different in like what they want out of life and like what their goals are, but they get along so well and they like completely respect that of each other, and completely support each other. And I just love that.
Summer just asked, what do you think made Vincent a good villain? And do you think Vincent was a good villain? I think he was a great villain because you really just don't suspect him to be so evil. You think that he's kind of like slimy. But like
just your generic kind of evil-ish, out of touch politician kid.
Kind of an asshole. Yeah, he's always like, you could do so much for my career. Like that's why I want to marry you. Do things for me. Like but the fact that he just turns around and just was like happy to murder everyone.
Yeah. He's the worst.
He's the worst.
We didn't talk about the
Mrs. Holmes?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that yet, really.
Oh yeah.
Because that was like so interesting. Was not expecting that at the end.
I love the first time at the party because I was like, that's him.
I had the same thought too.
Yeah, for sure.
And he talks in like rhymes, which is really fun.
Yeah, I love the mystery surrounding that character and how we don't get all the answers. Because like how does the labyrinth work? Like how does Holmes like control the sirens and like the basilisk and like get people out like right at the moment before they're about to die and like,
Yeah.
don't die and like
We only know that like she's trained. I think it's a woman. She's trained in the magical arts, and it's just like, how does that work in this world? I'd love to see like, where's the magic school?
Yeah. I would be down for like a backstory book on that character.
Oh, that would be really interesting. Yeah.
That'd be some like really
when they were young, even.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd be down for a magic school, like a magic university.
Yeah, and also just her position of like, she's the only living heir of this family, and she's a woman in the society where like she shouldn't have any sort of like power, but she manages to like take control of the situation and make it so she does. So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like when there's a few things open-ended like that, because it's like, it's open to interpretation for the reader. And it's not like the entire thing is about, it's not really about that, you know, it's about.
Yeah. It's the kind of question that we don't need an answer to feel satisfied. Like, I'm okay with it being mysterious, because it's mysterious for most of the characters in the book. Like, nobody knows, like, who Holmes is or, like, how the labyrinth works and, like,
and it doesn't really matter in the big picture here.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would love another book exploring.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was picturing the labyrinth almost like as not being real, almost. Like it's like a video game kind of experience. Because everything changes so quickly. Like when they came out and there was like a lake, I was like, is this real? Like, is it all just like a visual stimulation? But like they made it sound like it was real, like everything, because they could see like the festival like farther away, and so
that is an interesting idea though. Like, what if it is like Holmes is known as like for illusion magic? So like, what if this whole thing like is just an illusion?
Yeah,
and they're like never really in danger. Except obviously the bloodberries were real, because like that one.
Yeah, obviously the thorns were real because he had an allergic reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like the berries were just around though. They were just like by that lake.
Yeah, just like part of nature, but and like almost everyone knew to stay away from them.
Right.
But yeah, everything's so interesting. Like the ghouls and stuff, like, and the fact that they come for your soul, like they like open you up looking for your soul and stuff. And I really like the opening scene of the book where she's just I just was so unexpected, because I didn't realize we were just gonna be with dead bodies.
Right.
Oh wow, okay, cool. Yeah. Let's see. Cues.
Oh, someone mentioned Lute and his relationship with his brother Ben. I really liked that. I thought that was a very sweet relationship, and how much Lute cared for his family, and like he entered the labyrinth because he needed to find a way to support them.
Yeah,
I really
like
liked
the best.
Yeah, I really liked when she met his mom too, or not met. Maybe they've already met, but like when she sat down and like talked to the family, and they had
It was also so obvious that she was so much happier there in that moment than like any of the other stuff she'd been dealing with. I mean, she even said that she's like, this is the first moment that like I haven't been like stressed about Vincent and like stressed about my mom, and like just having a nice evening picnic like before the labyrinth with Lute and his family, and I thought that was really sweet.
I love that moment when Lute was like, I'll go every day and check on your dad when you're gone, and I'll have my mom go check on him when I'm gone, and all this stuff. It's like, oh, too pure.
Yeah. How supportive he was of like her going to school, and he's like, what was the line? I want to find it now to like capture it well.
Yeah.
But it was so supportive, and so like, I'm not gonna try to like lock you in and like try to like force you to belong somewhere you don't like.
Unlike Vincent.
Right, the exact opposite of Vincent.
The exact opposite of Vincent.
Yeah, just the whole idea of the book of where like Ren comes to like, I will belong to me. Like,
Yeah.
you know, she's searching about like where does she belong with the uppers, with the lowers, like where is she supposed to be? And she can just like be her own person and belong to herself and still be in a relationship and have that. It's a great message.
It's a very good message.
I'd love to like just continue and see her like adventures at school. Like it's gonna be tough.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's gonna be a whole nother adventure, like a whole nother labyrinth she's about to enter.
Right.
This one is like feel like is less forgiving.
Yeah, like the first woman to attend this college probably ever. Like, yeah, that would be I'd love another book. Yeah.
That's a whole other book. I love another book in this world.
Mm-hmm. And the characters, because I love them all.
Yeah, they're all really great. And it's just like, we just got to know them and they're done.
Do we want to talk about the next Booksplosion book of the month for the month of May?
Yeah. So, you go ahead, Jesse.
I was just going to say, well, we're going to take some more questions after we talk about this, so keep sending in some questions. But our Booksplosion book of the month for the month of May is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. Did I say that right?
Woo! Yeah, Ashley Poston.
I thought it was Poston.
Oh,
I never know.
I don't know either. I'm like, we've met Ashley. I'm so sorry.
Sorry, Ashley.
Well, we meet Ashley. She's the same. My name is Ashley.
True.
Hello, I'm Ashley Poston. But yes, we read the first book. Well, it's kind of a series. It's like a companion series.
Oh, yeah, it's in the same world.
Yeah, but we read Geekerella.
Did you guys know that there's going to be a third one?
I did see that.
On Twitter. Yeah.
Yay! I'm happy about that.
I'm very excited because I love these books. Like, they're just so much fun, and it's such a celebration of like fandom and nerdiness and just like cute rom-com. It's great. I've already read this.
I was gonna say, you can tell that Kitten has already read it because she's like gushing over there.
I just got the audiobook and started listening to it this morning, and I'm very excited. But I was going to say something else. Oh, and while we're off topic, let's just quickly announce that we're going to be at BookCon this year. If you're going to be at BookCon, and we're doing lots of stuff. So should we just go through our whole schedule? I think I am going to be at the Fierce Reads Authored Breakfast in the morning. I think it starts at 10 o'clock, and I think you can go to the website. There's like a big raffle to go to that breakfast, and like there'll be author at each table, and then like you can rotate tables and talk to authors, like just really chill. And then
I will be moderating Rainbow Rowell's panel about Wayward Son. I'm very nervous and very excited.
What time?
Be the best.
That is Saturday. I want to say it's 11:45 or 11:30. It's early afternoon Saturday.
And then at 1:30, I have a signing for the Again But Better, like an in-booth signing thing, or I don't know where they do their signings, but it'll be on the schedule. 1:30. And then what is our things at 5:15?
I don't remember.
There's an old Again But Better.
Yeah. I'm getting a real copy on Tuesday when I moderate Christine's event in San Francisco.
It'd be outside of San Fran.
Oh yeah, it's like in San Jose, right? Yeah,
outside of San Jose. And so then we have a Booksplosion panel, which is going to be our big thing on Saturday, and I think it's at 5 o'clock. Pretty fair.
It's like 5 to 5:45 is the time frame.
Yeah. And then on Sunday we have a meet and greet from, I want to say 12 to 2.
Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, where we will be able to take pictures and sit and meet all of you, because we try to meet everyone after our panel, and we do as much as we can, but then we end up getting kicked out. So.
Yeah. So yeah, if you can only attend one day, we're doing the panel on one day, and we're going to try to meet people afterwards as time and space permits. And then the actual like meet and greet is going to be Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have more Best the Boys questions?
Everyone's just talking about all of our things.
You're talking about the twins. Was that Will and
Will and Sam.
Will and Sam.
Will and Sam. Were they twins? I thought they were just brothers.
I thought they were just brothers too.
Maybe they got a twin vibe? I don't remember them being
Oh,
twins.
but maybe
either.
they were twin. No.
I don't know.
You're like questioning everything.
How did you feel about the explosive opening scene? I loved it.
I was surprised by it. I was like, oh, okay.
I was just surprised that we were like in a medievally sort of feel time period, because I just wasn't expecting that from like the description. It gave me Hunger Games vibes, which is like really weirdly future. And this is like, oh, this is pasty.
Right.
Very
I think it gave us such a clear picture as to who Ren is and like where her priorities lie and like how she doesn't cringe away from like the dead bodies.
I love that scene where they like find a dead body outside and she's like, huh, let me take it.
We just investigated here.
What kind of people would you recommend this book to? Any people? People who enjoy character-driven stories about.
If you liked Goblet of Fire, if you liked the maze aspect,
if you liked Mulan,
you'd like this book. It's got kind of a Hunger Games vibe a little bit.
I was telling John about The World because I really liked like the weird specks of magic, but it like feels grounded-y, and I was like, I want to say it's like kind of like Game of Thrones, where at first you think it's like just like grounded in a medieval society-ish, but then it's like, no, there's magic. But he was like, it's like The Witcher, it sounds like. And I was like, oh, but I don't know anything about The Witcher.
That's getting a series on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
But it's like a video game. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, no, but video games are like basically bookish stories. Like they're so long and I've been like learning so much about video game culture. They're like John's books, like
right.
video games.
Christina's learning about video games and singing K-pop. Who are you?
Who is she?
Okay, Blackpink is literally like everywhere right now. I cannot avoid this song, and it's so catchy.
It is very catchy. Next, you'll be singing BTS.
Let's see.
We also did not announce the date for our live show for the Fangirl, by the way.
Yeah.
Princess and the Fangirl, excuse me.
The Princess and the Fangirl.
Which that's going to be happening on May 25th at 7 p.m. ET on this channel.
Yes.
So read this book and join us for that live show. Because this is going to be so much fun to talk about. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Yes. I've been waiting I'm probably going to have to reread this because I've forgotten all the details. I read this back in February. Like as soon as it came, I read it in a single sitting. That's what I did with Geekerella too. It's so easy to fly through and it's so fun and cute.
Yeah, it's like classic kitten fashion. Like, let me sit and read this in one sitting.
For real. Yeah, I think that's it for this live show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you for reading the book and coming and asking questions and joining in on the discussion. Again, we're going to be reading The Princess and the Fangirl next month. Live show May 25th. Again But Better comes out this Tuesday by Christine Riccio. Be sure to go and pick up a copy.
Oh, that's my book. Thanks.
Yes.
Now, I am freaking out about my book.
We're all freaking out about your book.
Yeah.
We're so excited for you.
Where like things are happening and I'm just like,
But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm Jesse.
I'm Christine.
I'm Kat.
And we're Booksplosion. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next month.
Bye.